But just to start with, I thought it'd be really interesting for us to do a really quick role play. And in that role play, what Paityn and I are going to try and do, and please, Dr. Meakin, if you want to pipe in at any point as well, we're going to try and answer some of the most frequently asked questions that Paityn has when she speaks to patients in the US about this whole process, because we're aware it can be slightly more complicated than we'd like it to be for regulatory reasons, and we'll explain that. But also, we just want to take you through the process in a step-by-step way, explain why there are 3 different groups here that you might come into contact with, what we all do, and why it's important. Okay. So I'm, for the purposes of this role play, ignore me as being a doctor. I'm just going to act as a patient from the US who has heard about Astron Health and wants to get started with a personalized cancer report. Paityn's going to play herself. She's the Heal Navigator coordinator. Okay. And I want you to keep in the back of your minds that this is really a 3-step patient journey. The first step is to obtain the molecular testing that we require in order to do our analysis. And that basically means testing the cancer cells' DNA and sometimes the RNA to understand what the alterations are. The second part of the process is actually us at Astron doing our research work and translating those molecular findings into actionable clinical interventions. And then the third bit is the bit that Dr. Meakin does, which is the actual consultation with an oncologist who will do the prescribing and be able to nuance their prescribing based on everything they know about the patient. Okay. So I'm a patient now, and Paityn's herself. Okay. So, Paityn, hi there. I've been reading a little bit about Astron Health. I heard about them on this webinar, and it sounds like exactly what I've been looking for. I was diagnosed with colon cancer last year. I've already completed my standard treatment. I finished chemotherapy last month, and I'd really like to understand what was driving my cancer at a molecular level and what other treatment options might make sense for me. Could you help me get started and explain the process a little bit?
Absolutely. That's exactly what we do when partnering with Dr. Charles Meakin and Astron Health. So first, what we'll do is, since you are a new patient, we'll get you set up initially with a consultation with Dr. Meakin. Prior to that, we'll collect your medical information. Have you already had your genomic testing done?
I think I did have testing done, but it was done actually quite a long time ago, and I've had quite a lot of treatment since. What would you recommend? Do you think that I should do it again, or would I need to speak to someone about that?
Yeah, so what we can do is we can actually just collect what testing you've already had done. We can submit that over to Astron Health to see if you need to get this testing redone. If so, we can always order that for you. We work with Tempus testing, which can potentially be covered by insurance, or they even have financial assistance to where you would pay a small fee for that testing, such as like $100 to $300 through their financial assistance. So there's multiple routes that we can explore.
Fantastic. So the testing's actually done. You order it and organize it if I need it. But the testing, it's not an Astron test. You were saying that it was done through a third party such as Tempus. And I understand there are some other testing companies like Gardens and Caris and Boston Gene. Is that right?
Correct. So Astron itself, it's an analysis of this genomic report. So you would get your genomic reporting done through your regular oncologist, or we can potentially order that for you. Your oncologist always could order the Tempus testing as well. This is always a discussion you could have with them, or they can order things like Foundation One, next gen sequencing, based on whatever company that they work with.
Okay. So say if it's determined that I need to do some molecular testing now, some new molecular testing done now through my blood, how does that actually work for me as a patient here in the US? You mentioned that there's potential for insurance cover, etc. Let's ignore that bit for now. Just at a practical level, how would I go about getting the blood draw done, and who would organize all of that?
Yeah. So say that if we were to sign you up and you were to already submit the information you already have, Dr. Pad would overview that. If it wasn't valid, then what we will do here at Heal Navigator is we will reach out to you, collect your information, submit that over to Tempus, and then have them arrange what's necessary for you. Sometimes even a blood draw is necessary, and Tempus will actually reach out to you directly and have the phlebotomist come over to your home and arrange that mobile phlebotomy testing.
Fantastic. But conversely, if the team at Astron look at the analysis I've already had done a year ago and they think that's sufficient and actually it reflects the status of my disease now, I might not need any further molecular testing. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. This would just
Great.
speed up the process, and then you would be streamlined to getting that reporting within about 7 to 10 business days after we've collected that information. You've met with Dr. Charles Meakin.
Fantastic. We've done the Tempus testing, or I've already had molecular testing done. What happens next? So we've done phase 1, which is the testing, phase 2, the Astron report. What happens at that point, and how is that all coordinated? Do I need to sign up, or do you organize all of that?
Yeah, so following this call, I'll send you a link in which you can sign up directly through. You'll just submit your payment and then we'll collect your medical information. It's a HIPAA compliant form that we send out. You'll answer some questions and you'll upload that genomic testing. Following that, you'll schedule your appointment to meet with Dr. Charles Meakin, to where he will overview this information, prepare your file, and get you on like a generalized recommendation based off your medical diagnostics you would send in. We always recommend for you to send in scan reports, biopsy information, blood work, and then also that genomic information you already have. We package that together nicely and we send that over to Astron Health. They then would collect that information, analyze it, create a report, and then they'll send it back over to Dr. Charles Meakin within 7 to 10 business days.
Perfect. So Astron do the research, which is great. And then Dr. Meakin is the person who actually helps me put that research into an actionable treatment plan. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So following that analysis being completed, Dr. Charles Meakin will have that. You'll have 2 calls. So your first onboarding initial call with Dr. Charles Meakin, where he collects your medical information, sends it over to Astron. Once that report comes back, then you'll meet Dr. Meakin again. That's whenever he goes over the information that has been generated through your report, and then he structures that plan, such as repurposed medication, supplementation, even sometimes standard of care options pop up on there.
Fantastic. And we'll go into Dr. Meakin's process a little bit later, but just for now, what happened? I was speaking to one of the other patients in the chemo suite, and she mentioned that she had her own metabolic oncologist already. So if I was a patient in the US and I already had an integrative or metabolic oncologist, would I still need to register through Heal Navigator or Dr. Meakin, or is there another doctor that could use the Astron report instead?
If the doctor is open to prescribing those medications and applying the interpretation and they know how to read those reports accurately, then absolutely. I always would have that conversation with Astron Health to see if they're a credible practitioner, because that's usually key. Same thing with any other testing. You want to make sure that they can interpret those results.
Fantastic. So just to recap, as a US patient, my 3-step journey looks like this. So step 1 is Heal Navigator helps coordinate molecular testing if required. And if not required, they help to onboard that molecular testing onto my platform. Step 2 is that Astron Health analyzes my molecular report and creates a research report, which is then on my portal. And then step 3 is a consultation with Dr. Meakin or my own integrative oncologist who can translate that research report into an actionable treatment plan.